slap it on there, push down with your hands, using the edges of my hands here, locking it on. So that's the first way that we get this to kind of lock onto the wheel head. Second way, before we add any water at all, we take our index finger at 430 and we drag it on the base of the clay. That also helps to seal it onto the wheel head so it doesn't slide off when we start putting pressure on it. And then finally, the third and final way that we get this to seal on here is that when we get the speed going, we don't push in first, we push down and round off, and then we push in, okay? So I'm pushing in, pushing down with my right hand on the top, rounding off, and then sealing again at the base with my left hand, and I'm pushing right here at 6 o'clock with my left hand, and I'm using leverage. How many of you have seen the movie Ghost? I'm kind of dating myself, this is an older movie. Okay, so Demi Moore, and what's the guy's name? Patrick Swayze, thank you, Patrick Swayze. They kind of have a romantic moment on the wheel, right? And she's lifting the clay up like this, and then she pushes it down and rounds it off. This is wheel wedging, and this is like the exaggerated wheel wedging technique where I'm not just getting it to grow this tall, I'm getting it to grow way tall. And now I'm trying to actually center it, okay? So when you're centering, after you've kind of got that original wobble out, you're pushing in with your left hand and you're pushing down with your right hand, kind of same amounts of pressure, and you're getting that clay to stop wobbling and center, and then you slowly take your hands off, you put your water on there, your hand rest check, and there's no wobble and you're going and you're ready to go. There's still a little bit of a wobble, so I'm going to do it one more time. Okay? As I'm lifting, I do have a little bit of pressure on the upper part of the clay so that it doesn't turn into a bowl on me. And I am squeezing in on the palms of my hands and I'm lifting. And I push down. And I have a sponge between my hands so I can periodically add water as necessary. Okay? Now I'm really pushing in again, trying to get rid of that wobble. Pushing down, rounding off, pushing in. Now I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so I'm kind of fine-tuning my shape, slowly taking my hand off, and rest checking it again. Pretty good, pretty happy with that, okay? So, now I'm finding the well. See, with my left hand, index finger over my middle finger, finding the center, and then pushing down. Okay, so I'm guessing that between the tip of my finger and the wheel head, there's about 3/4 of an inch of clay. So I'm going to stop the wheel. I'm going to take my needle tool. I'm going to stab. I'm going to reach down in there and grab the needle tool so it doesn't move. I'm going to pull it out. That is 3/4 of an inch. That's exactly what I want, okay? So now I'm ready to widen the well, okay? So, kind of clean off my hands, grab my small sponge, add some water, speed it up again. So about full speed here. Same thing, see, with my left hand gliding on the wheel head, index finger just next to the middle finger this time, bent slightly. My middle finger is significantly different size than my index finger. Some is not much, and so you don't have to bend your fingers much. Okay, so then over the C, pull towards the palm of your left hand, nice and slow and methodically. Widen that well, and then slowly take your hands off, okay? So now I'm going to compress the base clay, and when I compress the base clay, I'm using the black rubber rib, and I start at the center, and I push down slightly, about maybe 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch maybe, and I'm going back and forth from the center out to 3 o'clock and back in towards the center, and I do that about, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. I'm compressing that base clay, making sure that it is flat, smooth, and I'm going to try to hopefully prevent an S-crack from showing up in the drying process, okay? So now I'm going to change the speed of my wheel. I stop it, and then I'm going to push forward on the pedal, and I'm going to get it to about half speed so that I'm in control of this. And now I'm starting to do pulls, and when we do pulls, there are 5 steps that we do when we do a pull. Step number 1, with your right hand at 430, I am pushing in at the base and I am creating an indentation, okay? It typically, when I do that, it kind of has a little sharp edge right here. So I kind of just knock off that edge just a little bit, dragging my sponge on there. And then I just kind of rode up the clay a little bit to kind of smooth that off. Now, step 2, I'm hydrating the clay. Hydrate the outside, hydrate the inside. Step 3, crab claw with my left hand at 430. My thumb on the outside shows me where my right hand needs to be. I start to get underneath that indentation and underneath that groove, and I'm pushing out with my left hand. I'm pushing in with my right hand, and I'm doing a lift, a pull. And I go straight up at 330 until I get to the lip, and then I stop and I slowly open up. Now I'm going to compress this lip. So step 4 is to pinch and pull up. That's step 4. Step 5, crab claw at the lip, push down. Make it smooth and flat and level again. And now that's step 5. I need to do all 5 of those steps every time I do a pull. Step 1, undercut. And then I kind of knock off that edge and I drag the sponge up to the lip as I'm doing that. Step 2, hydrate. Just dragging the sponge on the outside, dragging the sponge on the inside, hydrating the walls. Step 3, I get my hand wet, I crab claw. Elbows are tucked into my body. I'm starting to pinch with my left hand, my left fingers, pushing out, creating that groove. My right hand gets underneath that groove and it lifts the groove up, and I'm staying at 430 and I'm lifting and I'm getting some height this time. And because I'm throwing a bowl, as I'm getting height, I am also changing the shape. It's starting to bowl out. That was pull number 2, and I'm already starting to kind of bowl out a little bit. Pull number 2. Okay, so that was step 3 with the crab claw, and step 4 pinching and lifting. Step 5, crab claw at the lip, compress, push down on the lip, make it smooth, level, and flat again. Step 1, pull number 3, undercut. Step number 2, hydrate. Need a little bit more water in the sponge on that hydration. I can tell that it was kind of sticky. Step 3, crab claw, right here. Now my thumb no longer goes down. The wall is too tall. It does not go down to the groove anymore. It points to where my right hand needs to be. So I follow my thumb down and I see where I need to be with my right hand. And I'm pushing out and I'm starting to pinch between those fingers. And as I'm lifting, I am changing the shape of the piece again still, turning it into more of a bowl. And then when I get to the top, I slowly open up my hands. That was step 4, where I lifted and I kind of was just changing the shape more than pinching that time. And now I'm compressing the lip. Okay, so that was pull number 3, and I'm almost done. Okay, so there's a bit of water on the inside of this bowl, and I don't like to leave water in there. So I am going to scoop it out with my sponge, kind of clean off the sponge. Then at this point, before I do any more shaping, I'm going to come back in here with this black rubber tool, and I'm going to start at the center, and I'm going to push out to 3. Clean up the inside, pushing down, compressing that base clay, going from the center to 3 o'clock, back and forth a couple times, getting my bowl nice and shaped on the inside, smooth, round, and clean. Okay? So now pull 4. I'm no longer pinching the clay because I've already got the height and kind of the wall thickness that I want, but I am going to do kind of a shaped pull here. So I'm hydrating. I don't need to do the undercut, the indentation, but I am hydrating. Then I make sure that my tool that I'm going to use is hydrated. I'm going to make sure that my hand is hydrated, I'm going to change my position with my stool. I put my left hand on the inside, elbows tucked into my body. I'm bending this tool. And then I'm going to start to push out from the inside of the bowl until it starts to take the shape of this tool. And it really gets this nice bowl shape. Okay? So now it's much more of a bowl shape. And you can kind of come back and redefine a little bit more if you need to or whatever. You want to kind of get away from it, look at it, and see, do I like it? Am I happy with it? When I did that, it made the lip a little sharp, so I'm going to kind of round that off with my sponge. And I am compressing it again, kind of, with the sponge and my fingers at the top here. Now I'm starting to get a little bit more water at the base here again, so I'm going to clean that off. So now before I make my flange lip on my second bowl, I'm going to take a measurement, because once I make the flange lip, I really can't color it in and change the dimensions of it. I can change the dimensions of it now, before I make the flange lip. So I'm going to stop the wheel, I'm going to take my ruler, and currently the width or the diameter of my bowl is 7 inches. Right where it is right now, outside to outside, it's 7 inches. And I need it to be smaller so that it will fit inside that bowl. This one's supposed to fit inside that one, okay? Or if I want to at this point, even though there's less clay on this particular piece, I could make this the bigger one and make it wider and make it so that that one fits inside this one, still using the same regular original dimensions, okay? So I think because I'm throwing this one's getting a little bit bigger than what that one was. I am going to make this the bigger of the two. So I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit wider, and then I'm going to go ahead and make the flange lip, okay? So the speed now is about quarter speed, okay? And my tool is hydrated, and it even has a little bit of slip on it, okay? My hand's nice and hydrated. I'm going to bend this, and I'm going to bowl this out just a little bit more. Okay, so stop the wheel, measure it, and now this is 8, okay? And remember, the inside of that one was 6 3/4 or 6 5/8. So I'm trying to make sure that the inside of this one is more than that, okay? So that it's going to fit. That one's going to fit inside this one. All right, so now I'm going to flange the lip out. So I get my hands wet. I get the outside of the bowl wet so that as I'm doing this, my hand doesn't warp it. Okay, so left hand crab claws like this normally. Now I'm going to bring my hand up like this, like I'm going to slap myself. Okay, and then I'm holding it here at 430. I'm resting it on the splash guard for this particular wheel, and then I take my fingers and I put them on the inside of the bowl, and I pull that lip over my left hand so that it's kind of starting to flare out or flange out. Okay, so that's the flange. Then I'm going to go ahead and smooth up the lip because it's a little sharp here. So I am kind of supporting the lip as I'm pushing in on it with my sponge here, and it's kind of making it smooth and rounded. Okay, clean out the sponge there. Then the last time I did this, I used this tool, and I'm still supporting the lip, and now I'm pushing down on this to make that flange lip kind of flatter. And then I am going to create a little shadow line, a highlight line right here, using the corner of my tool. Some of the clay is ripping off, so I'm going to try to clean that off. Just like that. I'm going to clean up the lip a little bit more again. Okay. And then before I do this, before I take it off, final cut off, I'm going to measure it. So the inside of this should be greater than 6 5/8, and it is currently 7 1/4. So that one is going to fit inside this one because it's greater than the original measurement of that one, okay? And then the outside lip of this is 9, and the outside lip of that one was 8 3/4, so this is a 1/4 inch bigger than that one was when it was wet, and so that one's going to fit inside this one, okay? That's what we want. All right, so then before I actually cut this off, I like to put a little spiral on the inside of my bowl, so it's going pretty slow. I'm supporting my hand. I start at the center, and then I start to kind of flare out from that to create this spiral on the inside of my bowl. And then before I take this off, I do take a sponge and I kind of just knock off that sharp edge that is created by my fingertip as I pull out, just to make it easier to clean when I'm cleaning. And then I am going to clean up just a little bit of the inside of this, where my tool left a little bit of shavings. So I'm just dragging my sponge, fine tooth comb here with the lip and my sponge. And then remember, we're trimming a foot, so I really don't have to worry about cutting off this excess clay right here. But modeling for you, you can come back here with your wood trim tool and start to clean up and remove. So now I'm going to come in here and clean that off. You can undercut it with a needle tool and clean it off too, but I just kind of keep periodically cleaning my tool off. Okay, so now this is done, ready to be cut off. So you stop your wheel, you turn it off, you get your wheel head wet. You guys see a wire cutter over there? Oh, here it is. Get my wire cutter, dental floss, wrap, taunt, drag the water underneath your bowl. It starts to slide. Then you can take your fingers off and then keep your finger at the base here so that it doesn't slide off. Get your wire out from underneath it. So I could slide this off and catch it, but I'm going to use these lifters just in case you guys want to use these. Put them on either side. Put your board here on your bucket. Gently lift. Center it on the board. One usually slides out, the other one doesn't, and then you have to kind of put your finger at the base and slide it out like that. Then you can kind of move it to the center if you need to, and you can kind of give it a little bit of a facelift. If it needs a little bit of a facelift, it can kind of change shape it all on you. Kind of looking at it from the sides, and I'm kind of tapping down a little bit. Make sure that the lip is level where I want it to be. And I'm going to put this over by the fan, and now I need you guys to go over to this other wheel so we can do